Welcome back, guys. I am David Bolander, and you guys are listening to Random Radio. Now, it has been over a month, I think. Yeah, if I remember right, it's been over a month since I've recorded a podcast episode, so I apologize if I don't sound very good. Yeah, I've also had ongoing allergies like all summer, so again, sorry if I sound terrible. But anyway, and then just excuses, okay? Um, Quick excuses. So basically, I've just been lazy and I just haven't posted because what happens during my schedule is basically um, so there are two things that go into making a podcast episode: having the energy to do it and having the time to do it. When I have the time to do it, I don't have the energy to do it. When I don't have the time to do it, I have the energy to do it. So again, excuses, but it's my reasoning for why I have not been posting, which is decent in my mind, but I'm hoping that this will change with the start of the school year, which it probably won't, but you never know. Anyway, sorry, I'm just taking a minute. I'm kind of tired today. I'm drinking caffeine right now, so yeah, that would be why. If you hear a pause, then that's probably why. But anyway, today I wanted to talk about perception, or not perception, but perspective. So, the thing about perspective is that it's different for everybody. Okay, I don't really care who you are. It's or who you think you know super well. Your perspective is different from their perspective. Simply, and from a logistical standpoint, it has to be because the way that you physically see things is from a different angle from somebody else because two people cannot be in the same place at the same time. It's impossible. Um, it is physically impossible to see from the same angle at the same time, right? Unless you are both in a VR headset staring at the same camera at the exact same time in a different place. But you cannot be standing in the same place at the same time. So everybody's perspective is different. That's what I'm getting at. And one thing I will say is that we all think that we understand perspective, and then we don't. The reality of it is that humanity is terrible at understanding perspective. I will say that much. We are terrible at it. Because again, we always think that we understand. Oh yeah, we understand how people are doing, or how people are going. You know, and then we realize, oh, we have no idea. Or we don't realize that, and we just keep thinking that we know everything about somebody, even though we don't. Um, but perspective, something to take in mind when dealing with perspective is that you will never understand it. You will never understand somebody else's perspective or point of view or whatever. You simply don't. That's the big thing. Is just that you don't understand perspective, or you don't understand somebody else's perspective 100%, and thus you should not base that around every last thing unless you're playing a board game where you have to do that. But anyway, perspective. I think that we could all use with being a little bit more humble in the way of perspective, just in like, I don't know. It's a confusing topic, and I'm tired, and I'm not really trying to meet any time goals here, but I do want to at least hit 5 minutes. But anyway, perspective, like, let's see. So say that you're going on a roller coaster, okay? On Like if you've ever been to Lagoon, in Salt Lake, they have a ride there called Wicked, which it brings you straight up, super, super high, and then drops you in a near vertical drop, if not a vertical drop. That basically that whole way. And now the people in the front's perspective is very different from the people in the back's perspective. If you're sitting in the back, you can focus on the person in front of you, right? Like, yeah, you'll be leaning forward and kind of coming out of your seat a little bit still, but you can lock your eyes on the person behind you or the person in front of you's head, right? Meaning that you don't have to face the vertical drop directly. But then let's say that you're sitting in the very front, right? Then you like I remember we went here we went there recently. But me and my dad were sitting in the front row, and I will say that is even more terrifying than sitting in the back row, I will say. Like in the back row, you're kind of scared that you're going to hit your face on the person in front of you's seat. In the front row, there is nothing separating you from where you are and the ground. When you're making that vertical drop, there is nothing there, and it lifts you out of your seat because G forces. Um, and so like as you're cresting and as you're going looking down, or as you're starting to go down, um, then it like pulls you out of your seat. So like your seat is out of your vision. You can't see the coaster at all, right? And so yeah, no, and so from the person in front's perspective, that ride would have been considerably more terrifying than the person sitting in the back, you know? Just because like, you get the feeling of not only I'm feeling a lot of vertical drop, not only am I falling from a high height, but you also get to see that perfectly. And you get to feel like, oh shoot, I don't think that I don't think I'm strapped in tight enough. I think I might fly out. I think I'm falling right now. But, and that's kind of the joy of roller coasters, but from just as a lesson of, I'm just using that as a lesson of perspective where like the person in the front row will think that was a much scarier ride than the person in the back row, right? And oftentimes you can't really control which row you get into, right? Like over there, then the operator's primary goal was to fill up all the seats, and you don't really have a choice and just move the line along as fast as possible because it's it's a scary ride and everybody wants to go on it, and so you keep going, and people oftentimes keep going on it, and so that just makes the lines longer and longer, right? And so in order to get people through there faster and faster, they start saying, okay, group of two, you guys go in the back row. Group of four, you guys are going in the front row, right? um, just because that's what works best for any given situation for them, and because their primary goal is optimization and making sure as many people get through as possible. um, and that leaves the riders up to the operators mercy, in a sense, because it's like the operator will tell you if you're going in the front row or the back row, right? And you don't get to decide that, which I think, well, I don't know, it's interesting, but just again a lesson in perspective. You don't always get to choose the perspective you get to take, right? And so like if somebody is standing in a very particular spot and they cannot move or will not move, there is no possible way for you to get their exact perspective at that exact point in time. That is impossible. Um, because, I mean, or at any given point in time, as I've said before, but if they're standing in a specific spot and cannot move and will not move, you cannot get that perspective, right? Which is difficult at times, and so then all you can do is make your best guess, right? Like, oh, it's a big open room. I think I can see the same things you do. I'm just at a different angle, right? And so, or like we're in a maze, you can see around the corner and I can't, right? It's kind of like that. It's very convoluted, and I'm doing a very poor job of explaining it, but that's the best I've got. And so, no, we've almost reached 10 minutes. Yay. But anyway, um, that's all I have to say about perspective because I can't get my brain to focus anymore on it. So, anyway, you guys have a good rest of your night, day, whenever the heck you're listening to this. I don't really know, nor do I really care. You do you, bud. But, anyway, be safe. Be safe out there. And yeah, this is David Bolander, and you guys are listening to Random Radio. Just signing off here. Thank you for